Shakeelah Archibald is a ScreenSkills film art trainee with experience working in the TV and film industry. With her firm interest in the art, props, SEDEC and CFX department, she came from the amazing grassroots filmmakers Fully Focused Productions. Shortly after that, she joined Film London and did some preliminary vocational training on set already. She is also a BAFTA bursary recipient and a member of their New Talent alumni. After completing her apprenticeship in the props department on Eastenders, she was recruited by a training inclusion manager to join Culprits, a Disney Plus 8-part TV series, as an art department trainee. Soon after, Shakeela was accepted into the ScreenSkills Trainee Finder scheme for 2022-23, where she worked successfully on 4 major high-end television and feature film productions. In her second year at the university, she made a big decision and decided to drop out. Since then, she's been successfully progressing in the film industry and honing new skills. Listen to this episode to hear Shakeela's honest confession about dropping out from the university, learn more about working in props, special effects and the art department, and be motivated by her inspiring story and the importance of giving back. Enjoy! Hello Shakeela, thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Can you please introduce yourself?
So, for those who don't know me, my name is Shakeelah Archibald and I have a large range of experience. My experience is mainly within the art, props and now special effects department. I'm a trainee. However, I also do in the TV and film industry. I also do short films and commercials as an art director. I'm in my 3rd year of being in the industry. So I'm at the early stages of my career. And it's an exciting time for myself. And for anyone that wants to get into the creative industry, kind of follow your gut and say yes and kind of go for it, really.
And I wonder, is there one specific area that you focus on or you want to focus on?
So before the art department, I was really interested in sound. It's nice that this is a podcast because audio was my first love when it came to...
At university?
Yeah, so at university and at college, I went to Middlesex University.
You know, I find it a bit surprising because when I was at Middlesex, I feel like that there was a lack of people who did sound. I don't know why, but it seemed like that people were not really interested in it.
There was a lot of directors, up-and-coming writers, lots of DOP.
Was it the same in your year? That's not that many.
Lots of directors. Yeah. I think that's quite common, though, when you go to university.
But did you already go to uni wanting to focus on sound?
Yes and no. So I recently done a talk at the BFI Film and TV conference, and this question was asked me in a similar way. I didn't get a lot of career advice. I initially wanted to do an apprenticeship, but I think because of the lack of information between education and the creative industry, I felt like my only option was going to university, and the fact that I didn't have any connections in the industry. So I guess answering your question it felt like that was the only option at the time. And I wish I used the internet, Google, to kind of help with that decision making, and I think if I maybe waited a year, I would have been able to figure it out. My time at university was mainly to network and make friends. And I learned in a very practical way. So, being on set, being in the creative environment, learn better that way.
Yeah. So, as you said, if you maybe waited a year, what would you do differently? Would you try to find a different way into the industry or maybe do something completely different?
Yeah, because my actual way into the industry was I joined an organization called Fully Focused, and they're youth-led and they help young people get opportunities into the industry. And I actually worked for them doing social media. So my way in was doing social media for a production company. and then landing a runner job and kind of making my connections that way. But a lot of it was through the people I met and the organizations. But I don't really know how I'd do it any other way. I think a lot of it was the timing. I was at the right time, meeting the right people. And, the person that introduced me to Fully Focused, I don't speak to them now. But if I hadn't have met that person, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now. So I'm kind of happy that I was open to kind of...
Yeah, it can happen from a complete coincidence. And you end up somewhere you wouldn't even know that you could have ended up.
Yeah.
And does that company still exist, or does it still help people to get into the industry?
Yeah, so they're working with Netflix, BBC, ScreenSkills. They've been in the industry. Oh no, if I get this wrong, Teddy's one of the co-founders. He's going to scream at me, but it's more than 10 years. And one of the CEOs, he actually was an inspiring actor. So he started off being an actor and then he transitioned being a director. So I think that thing of, when you start out, it's kind of like, just try something. If you don't like it, try something else. So for me, it was very much, I was very set on sound, but then I realized, actually, there's something else that I enjoy. And now I'm doing what I enjoy, that journey.
Because I honestly never heard of it. But when I hear stuff like this, I always think, why do I find out now? Why didn't I know about it before when I was planning my way into the industry? So, yeah, I was going to ask you, how did you find out? But you said someone just mentioned it.
At the time, I was doing like an independent feature film, and the friend at the time said, why don't you try this masterclass? Because at the time, the organization were running masterclasses. So I think it was 4 weeks of you're paired up in a group of strangers and you've got to write a script, shoot it, edit it, and then it goes on their channel, MYM channel it's called. Mm-hmm. And then I was kind of like, at that time I was doing audio still, and there was not a lot of people who were with boom mic, understanding lavalier mics, audio levels. So I was like always doing these shoots because they needed someone that recorded audio. And then I think it must have been maybe in my second year of being in the organization, I kind of was like, I want to try something else. And then I worked on a commercial. It was, I can't remember the name, but it was something to do with driving safe. And I was like pouring fake beer in a pub. And I was just like, different.
Were you like acting in the commercial?
So I was like an art department assistant. I was like helping out the art director. And I was just like so clueless.
Yeah, but still sounds like a good experience, and I guess something you can put on your CV. So definitely helpful.
Yeah, might still be on my CV now. I don't know if it's still on there, but yeah.
And did you say, was it in the second year of your uni, or when did you find out about this?
So I found out about Fully Focused in 2017. I think it was October or November of that year. I actually didn't finish uni, so I only done 2 years.
Oh, how come? Because of nights?
Because I'll be honest with you, university for me was really hard, the theory side. And then I was like, oh my God, this company have given me a job. What do I do? Do I finish one more year? Because they needed someone full time, So it was kind of like, what if this opportunity doesn't come up? I remember at the time my mom was really angry with me. She was like, you might as well finish. You've got one more year. And I kind of just said, fuck it. And I'm going to take a gamble on myself. And I chose the job over education.
Do you regret it, or you don't regret it?
I don't. At the time, I was so upset with myself. I think I was probably at my lowest. Yeah, I was at my lowest.
Was it because uni was too much, or some other influences?
I think it was a combination of both. It was feeling like I was a failure for not completing, taking this job, not knowing where it may lead me. yeah, and it could have been like, oh, I could change my mind again. And then what? And leaving behind all my friends. But majority of the friends that I made at university, I still stay in touch with now. So, and a lot of my lecturers I stay in touch with, and they keep congratulating me. Well done. You know, you stayed true to yourself, essentially. I think if I had more confidence back then, it would have made a huge difference to how I'm feeling now. But confidence and self-belief, that takes time if you don't have it 100%.
Yeah, it must have been a big decision. I mean, it will be still a big decision if it was in the first year, but second year, it's even bigger.
Yeah, because financial, there's,
Oh my God, yeah, exactly.
other things as well. So,
and weren't you thinking afterwards that you would try to finish uni like the last year if it was possible?
so I did have these thoughts, you know, and I do sometimes think about it now, but I kind of think my education is life. And I've learned more through other people than attending a lecturer, sitting in a classroom. I've learned more on the internet and through people. So I think for me, it's more if someone's 17, 18 and they're considering university, I think you've got to think about the economic situation that we're in right now. We're in inflation at the minute. And you've got to think about the industry we're in. You know, at the minute there's strikes going on in the US. We don't really know when that's going to subside. I think our industry has had a lot of hiccups, COVID, and, you know, but there are some departments in the industry that are thriving. And yeah, I think a lot of it is you've got to be positive. And I think if you want to get into it, have some sort of savings. So if there are some low moments, you've got some sort of safety. And I think there needs to be more conversations like this, just to tell people what it's actually like being a freelancer. I don't know if anyone's mentioned that to you.
When I used to go to uni, there were some people who dropped out, but I cannot think of anyone who would continue in the industry or would continue like on a successful career as you do, still in the industries, you know, not being negative about it, but actually thriving. So you are the first one I've met, and I actually didn't know that you dropped out. And, you know, when I looked at your LinkedIn, what you worked on, your experience, I wouldn't expect that you dropped out because it looks like someone, you know, I would say successful because you still continue. So yeah, I think you are a great example, and I agree that it's great to talk about because I'm sure there are plenty of people who think, you know, that uni is too much, maybe don't enjoy, I don't know, the theoretical side, or they expected something different and it just may be overwhelming. So yeah, it's great to share such a story.
It's a pleasure. I think it's more, I hope I resonate with someone who's listening, you know, whatever they take from this.
And you can share some good advice as someone who did this. So is there some message you can share from this?
I think the one thing I'd like to share is, and this is probably the hardest thing, it's easier saying it than doing it, is believing in yourself and listening to your own voice before others. A lot of the time, we know the answers to our own questions. What do I need to do in my life? I feel stuck. Write these thoughts down. Write things that you feel like you're lacking in your life. You know, there's this circle with the things that we need to have a happy life. And it's a lot of the things, it's kind of like having a water bottle and you're filling up your cup, and it's making sure that each cup is filled up. So it could be your health, or your mind, your physical, your financial, your career, your friends and family. So it's kind of like, it's not always thinking about what do I want to do for the rest of my life, because that always changes. You may want to do something for a year or 5 years and think, actually, my life purpose is something else. I think there's something I didn't mention to you. I'm also a speaker, educational speaker, and a mentor. So I share the knowledge and experiences of how I got into the industry, and I try and encourage others as well. So
I was about to ask,
Yeah.
because you mentioned you did a speech somewhere before, so I was about to ask about it later, because
Yeah,
that's
cool.
interesting. But I was wondering, before you made this a big decision to drop out of uni, did you discuss it with someone?
There was like an educational
Some kind of support?
support at university. And I'll be honest, for about a week, I was and ahhing about it. And then I just made the decision, okay, this is a thing that not a lot of people know. I haven't really shared, but the only person that knew that I was dropping out was my mum at the time. So none of my friends knew.
So was it just you didn't show up the next day and no one knew?
I didn't show up in September, and I had messages, where are you? Like, is everything okay? And I just said, I'm not joining you guys. I said, good luck.
Do you know what their reactions were like?
A bit shocked. I think they were a bit shocked, but they were like, oh, Shakeela, you'll be fine. Because I think at the time they always knew I was hungry for getting opportunities and being in the right spaces. But I would say when I made that decision for about 2 years, even though I was still trying to make those connections, I was very lost still. I was very lost. I didn't have any proper connections. It was just the organization. And then I met this other organization called Film London, and that literally changed my whole world around.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? From London. I've heard of it.
Yeah, they're really big, and oh my God, they do a whole bunch of things.
How did you get there, or how did you connect with them?
It was really, I don't even know if I remember specifically, but I remember seeing a WhatsApp message, and it was like someone's testimony of them. It was like, when someone writes a bio of their achievements, and at the bottom it said Film London. Something told me, just Google it. I Googled the company. I signed up to their newsletter. I think it was within a week it's called a one-on-one CV clinic. You jump on a Zoom, a bit like this, and you get someone from their organization who actually helps you with your CV. So it's like group one-on-one session. Yeah, I attended that, and I stayed in touch with the lady who actually is the head of the company now. Yeah, once I joined the newsletter, they sent as in job opportunities, and I just kept applying. I was applying on other websites as well. And then I got an email, and it was from Eastenders saying, we want to arrange a interview with you. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it right. Very scared. I attended the interview, and I was like, I think I've got it. And I remember when I left the interview, the lady said, she's no longer at the company now, at BBC now, but she said, if we offer you the job, we will call you. So instantly I said, do you know what? I'm going to save her number in my phone so I know it's her if she calls. So I had the interview, I think it was on the Thursday or Friday. It was the following Monday. I received a phone call, and it was around, I don't know, I think 10 a.m. at the time. So my phone's ringing, and her name's on the screen, and I'm like, oh my God, I think this might be it. And then I said, hello, said her name, and then he said, yeah, we're offering you the placement. You want to accept it? These are terms, blah, blah, blah. We'll send you all the paperwork. The only reason that happened is because I pushed through, and I kept getting no's. I got loads of no's up until that yes. And it's hard hearing a no if you're not used to it. If you're not used to rejection. Oh my God. And I still get it now. So
I can only say that it happened to me as well, and I know what it's like. It can be very discouraging, and you just need to keep applying and keep hoping that the next one will work out. But it was also interesting way how we got there to the job, through the newsletter. So it may be a good idea. I actually didn't think about this when I was looking for a job. I didn't sign up for anything, but could have worked as well.
I didn't have to pay anything as well.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone from the industry helps you with the CV for free, why not?
A win-win, really.
Yeah. And what was the position that you received?
I was a junior prop hand. So I was someone who was learning, and I actually was the person who was in charge of all the props that were being used when filming was happening. So I was in charge of giving the props to the actors.
So you got to contact with actors.
Yeah, I have.
Well, first job and already like this.
Yeah, it's kind of getting pushed right in there. And I remember, I think it was on my 3rd month, I was still training, and someone had to take leave, like medical leave. And they were like, Shakeelah, we need you to step up. And I'm like, I'm still training. But I was like, do you know what? Yes, I want to take on this responsibility. And they were like, you absolutely smashed it. Yeah, it just felt like they saw the potential in me, and I was kind of just proper eager as well.
And did you find it, or how did you find the job? Was it easy for you, hard for you?
The hours are long. My hours now aren't as crazy, but when I was training, it was about 10 hours. And then actual shoot, when I stepped up on my job title, it was 12-hour days.
Really?
5 days a week. But I'm guessing you know this. That's quite standard. Yeah, in the industry. But there's BEC2. If anyone knows this, BEC2 is a union that helps creative industry with bringing in new laws and supporting people. So I think, a stage where things like hours, work-life balance, it is coming more into play. And I think productions are being a bit more stricter with it than before. But I think in the years that I've been working, I definitely have seen an improvement. And I think it does depend on what department you work in as well.
Yep. Then you don't have to say specifics, but was it paid well?
Yeah, I would say paid well for BBC. Trainee level, yeah, definitely.
And was it working, I guess, on some series or feature? Or what kind of project was it?
So it was Eastenders, which is a continuous drama, like Emmerdale or Hollyoaks. So you go to the studio and everything is within the studio. So we've got outdoor filming, in the studio filming. It's like all in one place. And sometimes we'd go to location. Very rarely, but yeah, sometimes we'd go to location depending on what the script has.
And also when applying for the position, were you already interested in our department? Because I know you mentioned before sound. So why did you switch, or when did you decide for this one?
Oh, yeah. So going back to that, when I done the commercial, that's when I was like, oh, I like the art department. So there was a switch before getting this job. I applied specifically. So I was definitely interested before applying. It wasn't kind of just like, oh, I just want to get a job. I was trying to be intentional.
So it's even better that you got somewhere that you actually wanted to do?
Yeah.
And can you say, is there a big competition of people when it comes to this department? Because the industry is quite competitive in general. So I wonder if there are like a lot of people interested in being in our department.
It is competitive. I think that's why I'm at a stage where I'm kind of working in the props department and special effects, because I'm trying to diversify my skill set. So, I'm able to jump between these departments and not feel like I'm obligated to just one department. Because a lot of the time, I think people do stick to their one department, but it is competitive. A lot of it is to do with the type of software that you level up on and contacts and being available at the right time, knowing the right people.
And I think definitely something that helps you to stand out if you know more than just one. If you focus on effects as well, you never know when it might be helpful, so you can do both.
Yeah, absolutely.
And can you maybe give us a little introduction to these departments? If there's someone who doesn't know anything about either props or effects?
Yeah, sure. So the props department is the department. So if there's an on-screen prop, so a prop is an object that an actor uses or is seen on camera, A great example could be if you're watching an action film and a spy has a gun, this would be called a weapon. And if it's the main actor, it would be called an action prop because it's being used in action. Props are really important. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, the prop is even in the title of the film. So the ring is the main prop within that film. The ring actually has some evil powers to it because whoever wears the ring, they change. So that's also cool. Harry Potter, the wizard wand. Are there any other films that you know?
No, I was just thinking, can people imagine prop department? Sometimes you see like these pictures or scenes when someone from a crew enters like a huge warehouse and there are shelves like super tall and it's full of anything that you can think of, like from, I don't know.
That's a prop house. That's a prop house. It's like going to Costa, but on steroids. Props on steroids.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like its own world because there's literally everything. I remember at Middlesex there was like a small one, but still it was really cool because you found things that you wouldn't even think of. So it was really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting. Even vehicles, animals are props as well. Yeah, the list goes on. It really does.
What are some interesting or weird or unique props that you worked with or that you've seen?
Oh, it's out now, so I can talk about it. It's a Disney Plus production called Culprits, and it's a safe. We didn't make the safe, but we made the money that goes into the safe. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of legal talk when it comes to making fake money. It's like you can't make it to be the right size and it's got to have segment in the middle and you've got to, it gets quite technical and you think, wow, like it's just a prop. And also like the artwork, that's a prop. If you're going to use an artist painting, you need their permission. Sculptures, oh my God, it's the copyright and branding, the amount of TV films and TV shows that have branding. So if you see like an Apple product, that placement is called. So it's when a company says, yes, we've read the script or we've read the scene and we want our product to be featured in it. You've got to show our product in a good light. So that's why a lot of villains have Android phones, if you've ever noticed. And the good characters have Apple product.
I haven't noticed, but I will focus on it from now. Just a quick one. If you enjoy our podcast, please give us a review on your favorite podcast app, subscribe or share it with your friends. For more information, visit the show notes. Thank you, and back to the show. I just had a question if the money you made, was it coins or cash?
Cash. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to show you.
Oh, wow, that's cool. But if like a regular person, if you didn't tell me and you gave me one, would I be able to notice that it's not real?
I think up close, yes, because the money today is now plastic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And if you was to see a £20 note, it's plastic. But in a lot of TV films, like I watched Apple Plus production called Hijack, and there was a man that had a £50 note, and that was a real £50 note. So sometimes, if it's large quantities of money, they'll use fake money. Mm-hmm. But if it, someone going to a corner shop and they're paying for something, they'll use real money. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what they're filming and how they're filming it. Try and avoid using real money, I think, a lot of the time.
And I guess maybe also depends if it's like a close-up of that cash, then it would make sense that they would use a real one as well, so that it's not obvious that it's fake.
Yeah. And also, like, if you've got large quantities of money that is real, that's an insurance thing. So if that money goes missing, it's not great.
That will be where it is.
Yeah.
It's like there is this scene from Breaking Bad when they are lying on a huge pile of money that just came to my mind. So I cannot imagine getting so many dollars and trying to get it. Yeah. Cool. And can you tell us more about effects?
Special effects. I haven't got a lot of experience. Like, 4 months. But I'll tell you what I do know. So special effects isn't just explosions and atmos. There's so much to special effects that I didn't even know that I now know. I think the cool thing about special effects is that they work so closely with the art department. And I had no idea. There's something to do with trying to word this in a way that people understand and that I understand when I listen back to it. Let's say if there's a scene where an actor's running into a window, so that glass would be, fake glass. You'd have a stunt person, and that would be a special effects thing. If there's anything to do with cars flipping over, doing a somersault and all this, that would be special effects. Or if there's snow, rain, anything to do with some sort of action. And even special effects can work with props as well. So sometimes that happens. Prosthetics, I don't know if you've heard of prosthetics, but it's when you've got, let's say, a creature, if the person's face looks a bit different. Have you watched anything that's like Secret Invasion or Marvel?
Yeah, of course.
Anything that's kind of alien or from a different world, that would be prosthetics. So that's special effects.
Like Guardians of Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly that. And so things like that, or if there's like dead bodies, body parts moving around, that would be special effects. Or
that sounds really cool.
It's cool. It's different. Wow.
And especially when you see before and after, for example, of some of those characters in the Guardians of Galaxy, it's unbelievable that it's not CGI, but it's actually effects. And then you read how long these people spend in makeup, literally several hours. It's crazy.
Film maybe for 2 hours.
Yeah. Because sometimes I read why some actors didn't like their roles, that they have to wake up super early, spend literally several hours getting the makeup, then they act for a few hours and they spend several hours getting the makeup down. Then cannot blame them that it's not really fun.
Yes, it might be for the actors a bit tedious. If they've got to wear that kind of makeup, I'm sure it can be quite a long process for them.
And why did you actually transition to special effects?
It was kind of handed to me because on this recent job, I was actually meant to work in the props department, but then that role got filled up and then they kind of offered me special effects. And a lot of the things that I was going to do was closely related to the props department. So I said, you know what? I just said, yes, let's try it out. And I'm so happy I did say yes. I can't talk too much about what the production is.
Yeah, of course.
Just because of the NDA and stuff. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
No, it's understandable. But I guess there are some projects that you worked on that are out, and can you name some? Maybe some of your credits?
Yeah, of course. Culprits, which is on Disney Plus. What else? This Is Christmas, which is on Sky. That's a Christmas film.
Can you say what did you do there?
On that one, I actually worked between the art and props department, but I think my credit is art department on that one. Yeah, I was very much art department. I was dressing sets, striking sets, sourcing props, buying props, shopping, work.
So I would just wonder what would be like your typical day as someone who works in art department, or maybe there isn't a typical one. So like average one, or?
Yeah, of course. If I'm working in the art department, it's very different to what would be like if I was working in the props or special effects department. I would say a lot of the art departments are production based. So working within an office, I'd probably get in around 8 a.m, set my computer up, have a coffee, say hello to everyone to the team, see if anyone wants a tea or coffee, packages, see what we've got, any props that have come in. Then I'd probably look at my list because it's forever growing, and I try and prioritize what's important. And a lot of it is just making sure my team are okay. So HODs, head of department, so production designer, art director, production buyer, if there's an assistant that I'm working with, making sure they're okay if they need any help. And it's, getting through that list of what needs to be done and maybe doing a bit of shopping as well, online shopping or going into store.
It sounds like a fun.
Yeah, it's very, once you understand it, it's very easy. High pressured, stressful at times, but once you understand your team and you know what you're doing, it's very enjoyable. And, there's opportunities to then be on set and dress as well. And then with the props department, it is sorting through props, being on set a lot, striking locations.
What does it mean, striking?
Oh, so striking is when filming has ended and all of the props need to leave that location. And it would be, our team would be responsible for safe handling of all those props. So it could be furniture, it could be plants, all sorts of things, and kind of making sure that that location is left how we found it, or even
That is something I'm actually curious about. If you do striking, as you said, do you put all the stuff somewhere into the warehouse, or what do you do with that? Because I can imagine that after some time, the warehouse must be full. So what do you do with it?
Yeah, so we put it in our warehouse, which is what we call a prop store. And this is where we keep all of the props for every scene, for every being filmed. It's all labelled up. And a lot of the time, prop master, so the person who's in charge of everything, basically will say, okay, we're not actually going to film this, but we may need it if they do a reshoot. So sometimes some of the props are rentals, so they go back to the prop hire companies. And some are props that we purchase, so using the production money, it's bought. And that's the art department that buy the props, by the way. It's not the prop department. And so let's say when filming is completely finished, there's assets, so things that they need to keep. So if there is a series or a continuing, they need to keep it, or they resell it. And sometimes they resell it to prop houses again, or they resell it to the crew. So a lot of the time, crew can get discounted furniture. So yeah, it's kind of a win-win. The one thing I will say, there can be a lot of waste as well. Productions do create a lot of waste. And I think that's something, so the carbon footprint on productions, I think that's something they're trying to tackle as well. There can be a lot of waste, but in the art department, we try our best to kind of reduce that waste, the best of our ability.
Yeah, I know there was this sustainability scheme when we studied at Middlesex. It was called Albert.
Heard of that? Yeah.
Yeah, and we did this test to see how much footprint our productions in a third year will create, which, not gonna lie, it would obviously be quite a lot because we were students and, limited resources, limited budget and everything. But I think that scheme is a really great thing because it spreads awareness. And I think even films, then they can put into the credits that they follow to this scheme. So they try to be more environmentally friendly. So I think that is something that is definitely worth spreading word about, and more people should focus on it so that waste is reduced, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. There's even some productions that have I think I'm getting the name wrong, but it's like an environmental team, or they bring on someone that will specifically make sure that our carbon footprint is reduced throughout the production.
Yeah, that sounds, I think, like a good idea. And can you also introduce effects? What would they be like?
Yeah, of course. So there's actually two different types of special effect jobs. So there's one being in the workshop. And when you're in the workshop, there's a lot of making that's being done. So making props, figuring out how a special effect will go about. So kind of like making, planning, and execution. And then there's the special effects that are on set. So when the filming is happening, you have a special effects team that will be on set, kind of initiating the special effects.
Doing those explosions.
Yeah. Doing the explosions, doing all the setup, health and safety, risk assessment.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I remember risk assessment from uni, so it must be fun doing that and looking after everything. I also, because before you said that sometimes crew buys some props or something, I also read a few times about actors like stealing some props from the set as memories. So I thought it may also be a good idea, because then you can say, oh, this is not just a regular prop, that's a prop from this film. So
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. People do steal things. It looks great and they want it, or sometimes it's gifted to them. It really depends. It really depends.
and especially then you can say, this is actually from the film, so it has a different value. It's kind of understandable. I know it's not a good thing to steal it, but it's understandable.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of things. It's a weird one. You have to, you have to be proud of what you do, but you also have to attach yourself from what you do as well. Because sometimes, you could spend 2 sleepless nights on something and worry about something, but sometimes it actually doesn't even make the edit. They don't use it. So you've got to have this balance of, I love what I do really well. Let's try our best at getting this for the director, but you've also got to understand we're not saving lives. So I've had to understand this over the years. I've got to come to understand that actually we do make mistakes and it's okay. I think as long as we try our best trying to get what the director wants. Not everything is also always achievable. We try our best to get the results that the director wants.
Not everything is in your control.
Yeah, things happen. Yeah.
I think said that really well. So I'm curious, what would be your favorite film when it comes to set?
I don't think I do, Oh no.
Maybe.
I actually don't have a favorite film that has, but I think the film that made me go wow was the Harry Potter trilogy. Yeah, the Harry Potter films. All of those made me go wow. Okay, this is what art department is about.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and especially watched it as a kid.
The thing that made me go wow is the team that I've recently worked with. Some of, let's say, the older folk actually worked on the Harry Potter film.
So talking about their experience,
it's really surreal watching it as a kid and now being a part of the world that he makes these cool things. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. But let's talk about your coaching side or your talks. So can you expand on it? What is it that you do?
Yeah, of course. So I speak on panels. I talk about the first job I got within the art and props department. I share about
on YouTube or somewhere.
No, it's like in person. So when I got my first job through Film London, I made some great connections and I expressed to them that I want to speak on panels, and they actually offered me a speaker role. This was like a year and a half ago, and they keep inviting me back. And then I think the word got out to other organizations like BFI, ScreenSkills. And yeah, so whenever they have course that they're running, if the art department's being covered, they will send me an email and they'll say, hey, Shakeela, we've got this. Are you available? Do you want to speak? I think, you've got great experience. You're alumni with us. And then I'll have a look at the dates and I'll kind of gauge what the audience like. I'll see if it's something that I want to do. And a lot of the time I say yes, because I'm really passionate about what I do and I'm giving back, essentially. Great that I'm able to give back to the organization that literally helped me. One of the organizations really helped me get to where I am now. So
positively influencing others by sharing your story or giving them advice. It's all great. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, weren't you afraid before to speak in front of people about your experience? Because people are often afraid of speaking in front of large audiences.
I always had the fear of public speaking. So that's why I wanted to do it. It was kind of like one of the things I wanted to tick off my list, speak in front of a crowd. And I think I'm getting better at it. And that fear is slowly going away, but it's still there.
Do you still get stressed when it comes to it?
I still get a bit nervous.
Oh.
Yeah, I still do get nervous. And I think a lot of it is making sure I say the right thing. A lot of the time I've been in panel talk or a discussion, I think, I wish I said more, I wish I said more a lot of the time. And there's, limited on time.
And is it online or in person or both?
In person, on Zoom, prefer in person, just because you can kind of gauge the audience and kind of have a feel of the ages as well. I think when it's online, there's a little bit of a disconnect, but when it's in person, I thoroughly enjoy it.
So it would be some advice when it comes to speaking in front of people or even large audiences.
You mean when I speak?
Yeah.
I'm good with small groups of people. So if it's under 30 people, I'm fine. But if it's more than 30 people, the anxiety, as we like to call it, increases. So now I've started writing notes, like on pieces of paper, or things I might forget to say, or to get me back on track. Usually I hold something in my hand as well to distract myself. Yeah, I think those are my coping mechanisms at the minute.
And is there some funny or even awkward or some kind of moment from your speeches that would be funny to share? Maybe you forgot words or you said something wrong.
Oh, I don't know, actually.
Or maybe all of them were perfect.
I think earlier on, I was always just scared. I remember one time they handed me a mic. I hate, that's one thing. I don't like being on stage and talking into a mic. That for me is, I don't enjoy that. I remember I got given the mic and I think they were recording it. I was just like, oh no, this is double whammy. So I've got a large audience, I've got a mic and they're recording me, and I've got to be smiley and I've got to remember what I've got to say. So yeah, there's a few times.
That's the worst to watch it afterwards.
Yeah, because you think, oh God, but now I don't know, if I make a mistake, I kind of laugh it off.
Yeah,
Let's start again.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. And have you got maybe a favorite speaker or someone who inspires you or someone from whom you learned?
Favorite speaker? Actually, motivational speaker, Mel Robbins.
This lady with glasses and blonde hair?
Yeah.
I think I read some books from her.
Yeah, I think she's one of the many people who I went to for advice on this confidence thing and speaking, and she's one of the first people that come to my mind when I think about it.
I've seen a podcast with her as well, yeah. I was just trying to think about that book. It was something like 5 seconds something, or I cannot remember now.
The 5-second rule. That's it.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I think that's the one. And can't remember his name. There's another guy. He started off doing wine, having a wine company, and he still does.
Is it Gary Vaynerchuk?
That's it, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
This gentleman here slapped me in the face with his words.
I can only agree with you. He's
if you listen to him, then you know he's quite powerful and doesn't really give a.
Yeah.
I'm not going to swear, but yeah.
Yeah, these are really good tips. I guess I will listen to something tonight because it made me kind of curious or motivated. But as we will be approaching the end of the podcast, can you share some general advice or some message that you would like to send out?
Yeah, of course. I think the first thing I want to say is I want to repeat what I said before, but honest to God, build that confidence, believe in yourself, apply to everything, use LinkedIn. If you're watching shows that you enjoy, look at the name, look at the credit and kind of think, okay, this person works in the art department and they're a really well-known art director. I really like this production that they're working on. You know the production they worked on, you know their name, and then there's Google. So use Google to your advantage. And a lot of the time you can find people's details online. A lot of creative people have websites as well. Send that cold email. If you've got their number, call them. Don't be creepy, but introduce yourself and say, sorry, Jim, at a moment of your time, my name is, say briefly what you do, what you want. Always go with asking for advice. Never ask for an opportunity, as in a job opportunity, especially when you're starting out. Always ask for advice. You need to start to build connections. So once you build connections, then the opportunities follow through after. If you can, create your own projects as well. There's a lot of Facebook groups where you can work on short film. Join organizations. ScreenSkills is an organization that I actually was a ScreenSkills Trainee Finder, and they do that every year. So apply for that if you've got no experience and you're wanting to really elevate yourself and see if you can get onto that. You think about, if there's a department that you really want to work in, think about looking into the skills that you may need, brushing up your software, hand tools, if you need a driving license, if you need to speak a different language, for instance. I think employees really like that if you're bilingual, it means you can speak English, you can speak Polish, you can speak French. That means, okay, we're going to send this person to Turkey because of the production in Turkey and we need Turkish speakers for a crew, and you've got that. So, okay, wow, win-win. It could be making sure your CV's up to date. Looking at the skills that you have right now, are these skills transferable? Thinking about who you should put as your reference. If you're in college, having your teacher write a cover letter for you, letter of recommendation. Those things are always good. Think about those things. Who can vouch for you? Create a LinkedIn account. That really changed my life.
Yeah,
connections, build the connections. Use Facebook for opportunities. Look at these organizations, ScreenSkills. Use the internet. Be open-minded. Say yes. And don't give up, And if you do get a job, don't be on your phone. Be engaged. Be on time. Like you want to be there. Because they chose you instead of someone else. That goes a long way, I think. Make the most of that experience.
Yeah. Great tips. I can only agree. And can you tell us where people can follow you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn at Shakeelah Archibald, ShakeeLAarchibald. And I think my messages are open. So if you want to message me for advice or to connect,
we'll add it to the show notes. And thank you so much for your time and for sharing your inspirational journey.
Thank you for having me, Thomas. And I hope to stay in contact with you.
Likewise. Thank you, and we'll stay in touch.
Speak soon.
Thank you for listening to Produced By. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app, leave a review, or send us your feedback. For more information about the host, links from the episode, and ways to connect with us, visit the show notes. If you know someone who would be an ideal guest for our podcast, please get in touch. Thank you, and see you soon.